Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. Hope everyone is doing alright. Let's check my sound, it's 602. Trying to get this one out. Gotta be honest, kind of more feeling like somebody should shoot me in the face. But nevertheless, we go on, we do the news. So let's hop across the pond. Take a look at this. This is awesome to watch. Do you remember Boris Johnson and Foreign Secretary? Boris Johnson comes out after pouring down, says, the fucking Russians, we know the Russians did it. We know the Russians did it. And Boris Johnson, whereas Theresa May said we have a high likelihood, which doesn't really mean anything, Boris Johnson jumps the shark magnificently. Screw high likelihood. The Russians did it. And I know the Russians did it. God damn it, I know the Russians did it. I was told by the scientist from Porton Down, that guy over there with the fancy degrees and the cool hat, that guy told me that Russia did it. Once they went to talk to the guy from Porton Down, that guy said, I have no idea what Boris Johnson is talking about. Because that guy didn't have any idea what Boris Johnson was talking about. Boris Johnson had just lied. And the Prime Minister was too weak. Weak. So weak she wouldn't sack him. After he opened, Baldfaced lied. Well, this is right here. This is Esther McVey. Esther McVey has pulled a Boris. Take a listen. This is awesome. By the way, she's working pension secretary for the British government. Esther McVey pulling a Boris Johnson. Well, actually, this is not her pulling the Boris Johnson. This is her coming to Parliament apologizing for pulling a Boris. Let's take a listen to what she said, and I'll explain what's taking place after she gives this non-apology apology.
Mr. Speaker, while speaking in Parliament in answer to questions on the NAO report into universal credit, I mistakenly said that the NAO had asked for the rollout of the universal credit to continue at a faster rate and to be speeded up. In fact, the NAO did not say that, Mr. Speaker.
That's called a lie. To put it in context, the British government, Theresa May's government, has been rolling out universal credit. Universal credit has been a clusterfuck, to say the least. They're merging a bunch of payments into one payment in order to punish the poor. What you find out is there been an explosion in the number of people who's needed food banks. And in addition to that, there are a lot of people who haven't been getting their wage or their earnings. It's not earnings, but haven't been getting their packet at all. Some of these people have gone weeks without getting anything. It's a clusterfuck. And on top of all of that, it doesn't even save any money. Meaning the key thing that the Tory is making that, hey, us abusing the poor and the low end of the economic spectrum like this is at the very least is going to save money. It doesn't even do that. They told her, the NAO, the British version, essentially a spending watchdog. Hey, don't slow this down. This needs to be paused. They told her this needs to be paused. This program needs to be paused. This program is not working. There are a lot of people on food banks. This program is not working. You need to stop this program. You're hurting our citizens. She gets in front of Parliament and said it needs to be sped up. They say speed it up. The reason this woman is sitting here looking crazy like this is because of a woman named Amar Morse. I think her last name is Morse. She sends a letter, open letter, to her saying, what I told you was the opposite of what you told Parliament. You just lied to Parliament. You looked into the camera, you opened your mouth and lied. You lied. You openly broke ministerial code just like that hack Boris Johnson. You lied. I'm across the pond, but I'm saying resign. Resign your seat. And just to nail down the extent of this lie, let's go through what was said. I'll read the letter after, but right here. Others are calling her to resign. I'm calling for her to resign. Look, beyond the ministerial code thing, you've just had one administration screaming about weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. You, British government, was party to that administration, meaning Tony Blair, Gordon Brown. You guys hitched your star to the United States wagon with this nonsense of weapons of mass destruction. You guys assisted us in murdering over 1 million people. You should be apoplectic about anybody in your government looking other parliamentarians in the face and openly lying to them. I'm saying that is a problem. That is a problem based on previous behavior that you should not allow. I understand that my country assisted you in that lying, and I am doing my damnedest to push back on the forces in this country that are doing it. But I'm saying that you also should do the same thing. And this woman got in charge in front of Parliament and openly said something that was completely false. I'm saying she needs to be fired. The universal credit system that Theresa May has rolled out has been a clusterfuck. It has been worse than a clusterfuck. It is a clusterfuck's clusterfuck. And the question is, do you want to continue to hurt Brits? Now, the Tories are like the Republicans on steroids. I'm sorry, the Republicans are like Tories on steroids, but the idea is the same. Or you can say the Democrats. The reason they're implementing this program is not because this program saves money or the program works. It's because it hurts the poor. They want to push people by hook or by crook out of using those services. That's what this boils down to. They don't necessarily care of the collateral damage of the people who are harmed by this. They just want to go through with it. I'm making the point to you that the reason why they continuously use the stats of, hey, we've gotten more people into work. We've gotten more people into work. Yeah, but what about the people who are not into work? And what about the people who are suffering, who are not getting their dinner checks, who are making a determination of whether I should pay for lights or food? What about those people? Do you care about those people? What about the standard of living? What about the number of people using the food banks? Those are your policies. You're hurting other Brits. That's what I'm getting at. And the one saving grace of the program that you're supposed to get out of it, you're not even getting. You're not even saving money. And this woman, in a war with reality itself, lies to Parliament. Lies to Parliament. Let's take a look at the story. That's an adequate summary, I believe. And yeah, people are calling for his resignation. Esther McVey is facing calls to resign after issuing an apology for misleading Parliament about the government's faltering welfare changes and Parliament's breach of ministerial code. Lying is a breach of ministerial code. The Work and Pension Secretary was accused of employing mega-Trumpism to deceive MPs when she claimed the White Hall's independent spending watchdog had called for universal credit rollout to be accelerated. Labor and Liberal Democrats called for MP in Tannen to step down after the National Audit Office's head, Sir Emmaus Morse, said she had misinterpreted a highly critical report which had actually called for reforms to be paused. That's this. Where is it? Right here. Report came out last month. I read it when it came out last month. Just didn't do the story. Let's keep going. In the letter to McVey, Morse wrote that she was wrong to tell MPs that the NAO had complained that the universal credit was being rolled out too slowly when it had suggested to pause the work. Essentially stop. It was the first time Whitehall's independent spending watchdog had released personal correspondence with a minister, an acceleration of the tensions at Whitehall over the government's insistence that the $15.8 billion reforms are on track, at war with reality itself. At war with reality. She should not have said the NAO believed universal credit was working when the report said that this was not proven, Morse said. She should have not claimed that the report had not taken into account recent improvements in welfare when it was signed off days earlier by her department. He added, the ministerial code states that ministers must give accurate and truthful information to Parliament. 2 hours after Morse's letter, McVey apologized to the House of Commons, saying she should not have claimed that the NAO wanted welfare reforms to be sped up. The NAO report did not say that, and I want to apologize to the House for inadvertently misleading you. Hey, are you going to apologize to the House for lying there because you know goddamn well you didn't inadvertently mislead? This was a month ago. This was a month ago. You know the problem here. The program that your government is putting out is not working. It's failing miserably. You know that the program that the government put out is not even fiscally sound. And you push it nonetheless. It's amazing. And she's like, we're working to set up a meeting. I bet you are. I bet you are. The NAO's report was released last month. It was seen as a critical account of the government's welfare changes, which are supposed, to squeeze 6 separate benefits into a single system. Auditors highlighted hardships caused by the claimants by delays in receiving payments and concluded that the new system was not value for money now, and its future value for money is unproven. The Tories, the party of fiscal rectitude, fiscal rectitude. Universal public credit savaged by public spending watchdog. When you guys hear Theresa May screaming about how awesome universal credit is, remember that the watchdog that's responsible for giving an unbiased report, kind of like our CBO in the United States, brutalized what was taking place. Not only does it not work, you're not even giving value for money. Let's keep going. Let's look at the report itself. Because this is somewhat amazing that a private correspondence had to get escalated to the level where it had to be put into the press in order to get her, Esther McVey, to come out and do this. Resign!
Mr. Speaker!
Resign!
Mr. Speaker,
Boo,
while speaking in Parliament in
resign.
answer to questions on the NAO report into universal credit, I mistakenly said that the NAO had asked for the rollout of the universal credit to continue at a faster rate and to be speeded up. In fact, the NAO did not say that, Mr. Speaker, and I want to apologise.
Although I do think this is rather, forgive me, I do think this is rather unseemly. I know passions run highly, but the Secretary of State contacted me to say that she intended to say what she's about to say, and I think that the House should hear her say it. The Secretary of State.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I want to apologise to you and the House for inadvertently misleading you. What I'd meant to say was that the NAO...
This is nonsense! This is nonsense! This woman is covering one lie with another lie. I'm sorry to inadvertently mislead you. When I went out there and said the opposite thing, that was reality. Yes, this war with reality is difficult, but when you're bashing the poor, sometimes it happens. My bad. My bad. I'm sorry. I keep interrupting her because I find this to be somewhat of a nonsense statement. She knows goddamn well what the reality was. And she went out there and gave the opposite of the reality. And when she was caught with it, she just says, my bad. My bad. She should be sacked. She should be sacked. If not sacked, she should resign. This is abysmal. You literally have people in the government now breaking ministerial code flagrantly. Is it a ministerial code or not? It doesn't sound like a code if Boris Johnson and McVey here can just flagrantly flaunt it. And then afterwards come back and say, my bad. My bad. I misspoke. When I openly bald-faced lied like that, when I looked into you guys in the eye, and I said something that was the opposite of reality, it was a mistake, and I apologize. My bad. It's amazing. Utterly amazing.
NAO had said that there was no practical alternative to continuing with universal credit. We adopt a test and learn approach to the rollout of universal credit, which the NAO says mainly follows good practice, and therefore the point I was trying to make was that the calls from the party opposite to pause it seemed to fly in the face of those particular conclusions. As you know, Mr. Speaker, I asked you yesterday if I could come to the House to correct the record. I believe it is right that as a minister I should come and correct the record, and I therefore hope you will accept my apology. Whilst I'm here, Mr. Speaker, with regard to the other issues raised in the letter sent today by the NAO contacted my office at the end of last week, and we are working on setting up a meeting. And with regard to the NAO report not taking into account the impact of the recent changes to UC, I still maintain this is the case, such as housing benefit run-on and 100% advances and the removal of waiting days. The impact of these changes are still being felt, and therefore, by definition, couldn't have been fully taken into account by the NAO report. I hope that clarifies the position.
That's amazing. That's amazing. A woman that attractive can carry that much shame. Oh, and I know attractiveness has nothing to do with shame, but Jesus Christ. And look, I said this about people in general. This idea of a politician can stand and look in front of the camera and maintain such shame. Their spines can carry this weight. It's like a superpower. It's fucking amazing. I'm sorry, a lie wasn't a lie. And if it was a lie, I apologize. And I still maintain what I said prior. However, I am going to apologize for what I said prior, because what I said prior wasn't true in the least. It's amazing. That's amazing. Let's look at the letter itself. So the thing that brought all of this to head was essentially this letter by the NAO calling her to account for her sins. The things that she said that weren't true to the Parliament, breaking ministerial code. Dear Minister, I wrote to you on 27th of June asking to meet to discuss out my report on universal credit and your comments, but I have not been able to see you. Following your second set of statements in the House of Commons about the report, I am now reluctantly writing an open letter to you to clarify the facts. Our report was fully agreed with by senior officials in your department for work and pensions. It is based on the most accurate and up-to-date information from your department. Your department confirmed this to me in writing Wednesday the 6th of June. And we have reached a final agreement on the report Friday, June 8th. She's essentially saying, look, there was a 2-day separation between us communicating or us communicating. You still say this. I've tried to reach out to you. I haven't gotten anything back. And the last bit of information that I got from you confirms what I've been saying about your universal credit. I hate to write this in the open, but this is all I got left. The escalation. It is odd that by Friday 15th, you felt able to say that NAO did not take into account the impact of recent changes. You reiterated these statements on July 2nd, but we have seen no evidence of such impacts or fresh information. I'm afraid that your statements on July 2nd that the NAO was concerned universal credit is currently rolling but too slowly and need to continue at a faster rate is also not correct. While we recognize, regrettably, early delays to universal credit, my recommendation, made clearly on page 11 of the report, is that the department must now ensure it is ready before it starts to transfer people over from previous benefits. This will avoid the department's performance declining further as it faces higher claimant volumes. I also recommend that the department learns from experiences of claimants and third parties, as well as insights have been gained from the rollout so far. I love this. I love this. She's essentially saying, look, this isn't working, and you need to slow this, and you need to actually stop this. You need to pause this. And the failures that have been taking place, you need to take those into account as you continue to try to roll this out, especially as you try to roll this out for more people. Now, McVey here takes this and says, yeah, they say we're not rolling it out fast enough. That is the opposite. That is the opposite. And the woman goes back to Parliament saying, look, I misspoke. I meant to say the opposite of what I said. Amazing. That's amazing. Let's keep going. That's amazing. This is sane in what she's saying. I don't like the universal credit thing. I mean, beyond the fact that they're not getting money for value. Excuse me, it's hurting people. Food banks have ballooned in the UK under Tory rule, especially under this universal credit nonsense. But she's at least saying we need to pay more attention to the way that we roll out this program. We're hurting people. We need not do that. Let's keep going. This will avoid the department's performance declining further as it faces higher claimant volumes. I also recommend the department learns from the experiences of claimant third parties as well as the insights it has gained from the rollout so far. I'm afraid that your statement in response to my report claiming universal credit is working has not been proven. The department has not measured how the universal credit claimants are having difficulties and hardships. They haven't measured them because they don't care. What we do, Tories don't care about the poor. They absolutely don't care about the poor. These programs they use to hurt the poor under the idea that if you hurt them enough, they will be forced to go into jobs. Well, you may get some to go into jobs, but I guarantee you're going to have a lot more that are not. And those people are going to be destitute, using those food banks, impoverished. Talking about crime, talking about suicide, talking about opioid abuse. You're creating plagues for your society. What we do know from the department survey is that although 83% of claimant respondents said they were satisfied with the department customer service, 40% of them said they were experiencing financial difficulties, and 25% said they couldn't make an online claim. We also know that 20% of the claimants were not paid in full on time, and that the department cannot measure the exact number of an additional people in employment as a result of universal credit. Meaning, the argument that they're using of, hey, we're getting all of these people in employment, there's no way for them to know. The report is saying you don't know. You don't know. Resign. Resign. You lied. Resign. I understand they're baby white lies of sorts. They call them white lies anyway. Do these pants make my ass look awesome? Yes. Yes, they do. Does this dress make me look fat? No, it doesn't. These lies, they're ubiquitous in human culture. They allows us to grease the wheels to some degree. But this is different. This is you taking operations after already being in a country that lied or assisted with us, the United States, as it lied about weapons of mass destruction. You are now lying about one of these reports at home. I'm trying to make the point to you that if corruption matters to you, and if you needing to know that what these people are saying is honest, breaking ministerial code in this way, in such a bald-faced, open-mouthed, Boris Johnson way, should not be tolerated. So, that's my pitch. Esther McVey needs to resign. Esther McVey needs to resign. Patrick, liars and charlatans do not resign any longer in the UK. Unfortunately, Patrick, the same here is true in the United States. But I keep praying and hoping that you will be better than us. You at the very least had investigations. You at the very least had that report that Theresa May was blocking, showing that you guys were working with rendition and terrorism. Theresa May blocked that report all the way through. That in and of itself should be a scandal. Should be a scandal. Balthazar, oi McVey. Oi McVey. Jamal, you know you're more politics than us in the UK. I follow UK politics. I like it. It's so similar in the standpoint of American politics, just less insane, if that makes sense. The Tory Party is like the Democratic Party in the United States. That's what it is. Our Republican Party is off the political spectrum. There's nothing like it in many parts of Europe. Honestly, it's off the spectrum. However bad you think the United States is, it's worse. I'm just saying, I live here. However bad you think it is worse. The public in this country is not fully aware of how rapacious and how bunch of psychopaths these people are. They believe that these guys are. They don't believe how horrid some of these policies are. Like, they understand what Trump is doing from the standpoint of immigration. To some degree, they get it. They don't like it. By the same token, they also don't like the Democrats' plan. They don't like either. They trust Donald Trump more about the immigration thing, but that's because Donald Trump is a maniac about immigration. By the same token, they hate this idea of them locking up babies at the border. The American public is kind of in it, but they're completely disengaged from the political process in any real way that matters. Ultimately, you have these people who are voting Democrat, and in their voting of Democrat, they act as if that's going to be somehow change and resistance. It's not. They're voting almost vote blue no matter who, willing to put whoever gets in that office, not realizing that the person you're putting in that office is going to be making decisions and policy objectives. They act as if it ends with putting the Republican out of office. I'm sorry, it's not. The Democrat is not that much better, if it's better at all. And you can make an honest case that goes from the standpoint of history and the standpoint of what the Democratic Party represents and the slide that took place, that you shouldn't be supporting them at all. Shouldn't be supporting them at all. You have two parties in this country that are completely obsequious to wealth. That's what it boils down to. The workers in this country don't necessarily have anybody to lay there or put their feather into or put their hat into. Ultimately, the Democratic Party parrot things that they did prior, completely hollowed out in regards to any kind of real reality associated with the things that they say. The Republican Party is off the political spectrum. Neither party pays attention to the populace, meaning you have a Frankenstein that's running loose in the world that is completely unhinged from the parties or from the populace itself. However bad you thought it was out there looking at us, believe me, it is worse. It's utterly worse. All right, I'm going to end this here. I'm not going to keep this one long. So, McVey, it's right. The woman needs to resign. The woman needs to resign. Let's see. The next turn. RT's crosstalk bash Alexander Cortez as a fake progressive and is bought by the Democratic establishment. All pundits agreed. What the fuck? Yeah, I gotta check that one out. You have a right to vote for a person that won't represent you. That's pretty much, yeah. That's pretty much it. All right. I'm going to end this. Let me check out the crosstalk thing. By the way, there's a poll that came out in the Washington Post that essentially backed up the thing with the Trump stuff. People don't trust Democrats at the border. They trust Trump for border security stuff. Don't like this idea of ripping away kids from their babies. My political analysis of this has been dead on. I look at this through the lens of an African American and about what this took place from the standpoint of civil rights. That's the lens I look at. I don't think people like this idea of ripping kids away from their mamas. Just like I don't think whites like this idea of cops beating the shit out of African Americans, holding up signs saying, we'll give peace a chance or whatever. It's the same dynamic. I don't think people like that overt level of violence and maliciousness, even though you can get away with some of that shit when they're not paying attention to it. The immigration thing is a loser for Trump, but it's also somewhat of a loser for the Democratic Party because neither party is actually getting what they want. The question becomes, what does the public hate worse? What Trump is doing at the border or Democrats' fecklessness and wobbliness on this issue? I got to be honest, I don't know which. But it's clear to see in the polls that it doesn't necessarily like either in a contextual standpoint. So I'm going to end this. I'm going to find that RT episode because you've piqued my interest about what's taking place on Crosstalk. and I may see you guys shortly. Thanks, guys. If you enjoyed the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe, and of course, you can always support through Patreon. Thanks, guys. And we are